There's a number in your savings account where your brain chemistry physically changes. Not at 100,000, not at 50,000, at approximately $5,000. Below that number, your brain operates in a continuous state of low-grade emergency. Cortisol elevated, amygdala scanning for threats, prefrontal cortex suppressed. The same neurological state as a person being hunted. You are not being hunted. You are buying groceries and paying rent. But your brain does not know the difference. It only knows the reserve is too thin to survive a disruption, and it responds accordingly. Abraham Maslow published his hierarchy of needs in 1943. The framework describes human motivation as a pyramid. At the base, physiological needs: food, water, shelter. One level above that, safety needs: financial security, stability, protection from unpredictable loss. Maslow's central finding was that the brain cannot access higher-level functions until lower-level needs are met. A person whose safety needs are unmet cannot effectively plan, create, or think long-term. The brain will not permit it. It redirects all available cognitive resources toward monitoring the threat. For a middle-class household with less than $5,000 in accessible savings, the safety level of the pyramid is unmet. The brain registers this as an active threat. One car repair, one medical bill, one unexpected job disruption. The margin between stability and crisis is too narrow for the brain to stand down. So it remains in a state of vigilant scanning. Cortisol stays elevated, sleep quality drops, patience shortens, decision-making narrows to short-term survival. The person is not anxious because they have an anxiety problem. They are anxious because their brain has accurately assessed that the financial buffer between them and serious trouble is dangerously small. The anxiety is not a malfunction. It is a correct rating of insufficient reserves. At approximately $5,000 in accessible savings, something measurable changes. The financial buffer between the household and a serious disruption crosses a threshold the brain recognizes as minimally adequate. One major car repair is covered. One emergency room visit is survivable without debt. 1 month of reduced income does not immediately threaten housing. The margin is still thin, but it exists, and the brain responds to its existence. Cortisol production decreases. The amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, reduces its scanning frequency. The prefrontal cortex, suppressed during emergency mode, begins to reactivate. Planning becomes possible. Patience returns. The person starts thinking in weeks and months instead of hours and days. Decisions that were previously impossible become available. Not because the person changed, because the brain's operating environment changed. The threat level dropped below the threshold that triggers emergency cognition. This is why $5,000 produces a psychological effect that is disproportionate to its financial value. $5,000 does not make a household wealthy. It does not provide long-term security, but it moves the brain from one operating mode to another, from scanning to planning, from reacting to choosing, from surviving to functioning. The dollar amount is modest. The cognitive shift it produces is not. For a middle-class household, the practical consequence of this research is direct. Every financial decision made below the $5,000 threshold is being processed by a brain in emergency mode. A brain with elevated cortisol, suppressed planning capacity, and narrowed decision-making. The household is not making poor decisions because the people in it lack intelligence or discipline. The household is making constrained decisions because the brain's operating mode will not permit anything else. The safety level of the pyramid is unmet. until it is met, the brain allocates its resources to threat monitoring, not wealth building. This is what $5,000 actually purchases. Not a product, not a luxury, not even security in any traditional sense. It purchases a change in brain state, a transition from emergency cognition to functional cognition, from a brain that can only react to a brain that can finally plan. The $5,000 is not the destination. It is the minimum threshold at which the brain gives you permission to think about a destination. If you have been operating below this line and wondering why clear thinking about money feels impossible, this is the mechanism. Your brain has been in emergency mode. It was not a character flaw. It was a cognitive state produced by insufficient reserves. Subscribe for more breakdowns of the psychology behind your financial decisions.